Hey guys, Arleesha here and welcome to another video. Today we're going to be taking a look at some alcohol markers. It's been a little while since I've looked at alcohol markers. The last ones were the Artify markers. It's been several months since then, and today I have some markers to share with you from Art and Fly. I know they sound a little bit similar. You guys may have heard of the brand Art and Fly before as a more affordable Copic marker alternative. These were one of the first brands of alcohol markers I heard of when I was looking into them a couple of years ago, and I was always hoping that I would get to try them out someday. So of course I was just really excited when the company reached out to me and asked if there was anything from their website that I wanted to try. So I immediately responded that I was interested, and I specifically asked for their skin tone set as well as their pastel set. I was thinking about how with the Artify markers that I reviewed last time, the main thing I felt like I was missing were the lighter tones. Those tones that you can just kind of fade out to white and use for lighter layers depending on how you're working with your markers. So I was really itching to get to try those out. And I was extremely hopeful that these markers would kind of just fit right in that little category, and I could kind of supplement them with my bolder, darker, more saturated Artify alcohol markers. Each of these sets came with a little swatch card, so you can swatch out the colors and see what they look like all together. And while I did already fill out the swatch card for the skin tone set, I saved the swatching for the pastel set to share with you guys. Here's a quick look at the difference between the chisel tip on the one end and the brush tip on the other end. So that's a really nice feature about these markers, is that they have a brush tip. Super awesome. A couple other things I really enjoy about Art and Fly as a whole is that you can buy refill inks for these markers. So if you have a couple of colors that you really like and you use them up quicker than others, you can buy individual refill inks for these guys and just top them off. You don't have to buy new markers. You can also buy replacement brush tips, so if your brush tips get worn down, you can replace those. They have a couple smaller marker sets based on color, so there's like a purpley set and a blue set and a gray set. And as you'll see in a couple minutes, the company is slowly expanding to sell more than just markers these days, which you'll see that in a minute. The sets themselves, I would say, are relatively affordable. The larger pastel set is $25 US, so you're getting 12 markers for $25. It's a little bit over $2 a marker. And the skin tone set is 6 markers for $15, so that's somewhere around what, like $2.50 a marker? Anyway, less than $3 per marker for these, which is a really nice deal if you're looking for alcohol markers with brush tips, as Copic markers generally cost between like what, $5 to $10 a marker? I don't even know, that's what they were. Is that what they still are? And they're really expensive. So at first glance, these seem to be a really nice deal for the price, and you're getting that brush tip. When I was swatching out the colors, I noticed that there were a couple of duplicates between these two sets. Art and Fly does have a larger set of 48 colors, but I didn't want to get another huge set of markers when I kind of already knew what I was missing. And while I was swatching these, I noticed that the colors 29YR and 107BR, meaning yellow, red, and brown respectively, those numbers showed up in both sets. So at first I was thinking that they were duplicates, but when I was swatching, I noticed that the colors actually aren't the same. The yellow-red color in the skin tone set is actually a little bit peachier, a little bit pinker, and the 29YR in the pastel set is closer to like a beigey sort of color. And then when you're looking at the brown colors from both sets, the brown in the pastel set is much less saturated and the brown in the skin tone set is even more saturated. So while it's nice that I don't actually have any duplicates, it makes me wonder if this difference is just because of the sets themselves, like if you'll always get the warmer brown in the skin tone set, or if the colors are just less consistent. I don't know. But to take a step back from that for just a moment, Art and Fly also sent me this watercolor set because apparently they're distributing watercolors these days, which is kind of neat, and they must know that I work with watercolors a lot. And they sent me this very, very large 72 color set of watercolors, kind of reminiscent of like the koi watercolors. Now, I haven't used these, and I'm not going to be using these. I've decided that I want to save this set for a giveaway that's going to be coming up very soon for you guys. You know what? Actually, the way I was planning it, the giveaway might even be up by the time this video goes up. I don't know. If it is, woohoo, that's awesome. If it's not, I'm sorry, it'll be done soon. The first thing I wanted to do in testing out these markers was to kind of play around with the blendability and layering of colors. You guys may recall that I tend to like to use alcohol markers a little bit like watercolors. So layering lots of different colors on top of each other, and when I was doing this first one, it felt really, really weird, and I couldn't figure out why my colors looked so kind of dark and muted and not pretty looking. And then when I was finishing it, I realized that I had a single sheet of paper without other papers underneath it, and when I slid the rest of the papers back underneath the paper I was working on, the colors look so much brighter and better. And that's because the paper itself is marker paper, and I think what makes it marker paper is just that the back of the paper is a bit waxy. So while you can see it, it does bleed through. You can see it on the back side of the paper. Because of whatever waxy coating is on the back, it won't actually bleed through. So it's not going to bleed through onto the next papers, even though you can see it on the back. It's, you know, papery paper on one side and then waxy on the back. You're not going to be coloring on the back of this marker paper, but at the same time, you don't have to worry about it bleeding through onto the next following sheets. But the markers do blend together really nicely on this paper, so that's nice. Even when my layers weren't, you know, still super wet, I could just kind of go back in and blend things together, and the paper itself was really nice for playing with the markers. I had a lot of fun creating these quick little orby things and just playing around with different combinations of color. I like that it has a little bit of like a watercolor-esque texture to it. The sort of mottled look of the colors reminds me a lot of watercolors. On the subject of the brush nibs themselves, I actually really like them. I've tried alcohol markers that have brush tips where there is a brush tip, but it's kind of a little bit more like a bullet nib because it's so stiff and it doesn't actually do brushy things, which is kind of what you want out of a tip like this anyway. But I found these to work pretty decently for feathering. It's not quite the same super luxurious experience as working with Copic markers. Those things are just made out of magic, but I think it's just a notch below that, and these are still a really, really nice alternative, and you can do a lot with the brush tips on these markers. Here's a closer look at the back of that paper. So as you can see, the color is visible through the back, but because of the waxy texture on the back, whatever they put on the back of this paper to make it waxy, your color's not going to bleed through to the next pages like ever. Overall, I was pretty happy with the color selection in the set. Because I like to use these like watercolors, I tend to do lots of layering. So while 12 colors may not seem like a lot in alcohol markers, I kind of think of it a little bit more like having a 12 color set of watercolors. It's not quite as versatile because you can't mix the colors on a palette and get, you know, all of the colors in between, but you can layer them. And alcohol markers are pretty transparent when you layer them, so by putting colors on top of other colors, you're still getting lots of variety outside of whatever's actually included in the set. So I know a lot of people tend to go for really massive sets when it comes to alcohol markers because you want that variety, and while I think that's really useful, especially like for me, the Copic marker, like that set E with all of those super light colors and all of the tiny little variations, that was something that I always wanted so badly when it came to Copic markers. But I think you can do a lot with a 12 color set like this. I feel like some of the pastel aspects are not completely perfect for me. The purple is pretty saturated and there's a darker blue that I didn't use as much here. And those two colors, while they do provide a nice range and they do bring some darkness and some depth to the set overall, I won't be using those ones as much when I'm looking for something pastel, something really light. I was originally planning to just do a second little sketchy thing here for you guys, and while I was getting that ready, my kids decided that they wanted to come and make art with me. So the fine liners did not, reactivate. They worked really, really well for laying those lines down, erasing my pencil sketch, and then putting the marker on top. I know a lot of people like to work that way. You guys can check out all of the materials down in the description. So to finish this off, here's a couple minutes of me making art with my little ones. See you later, guys. Alright, it's time to color. Why don't you tell me what's going on in your drawing?
Well, here's Team Rocket. They have these cranes attached to the string with a net. They're trying to catch Pikachu and Charizard.
Oh my goodness, not Team Rocket.
Yeah.
They're always trying to take those Pokemon.
It says Pokemon. Pokemon? It's like a question. They're like saying, is this Pokemon? Anything really going on in your picture, Mommy?
I wish I knew, babe, but I kind of don't.
This is a girl Pikachu, and this is how I do girl Pikachus. So what's that pen? What's the color of that pen called?
The one I'm using?
Yeah.
The one I am using is 27 Yellow Red. So it's a warmish pinky color.
What's mine?
Yours is 77 Purple Blue. So it's in between like a blue and a purple. At least that's what they say. So
It's not really though. It's just like purple.
you're kind of right, baby.
I'm drawing a giant Pikachu and I really don't know how. And I need
Why don't you put some ears on him? Where's the pencil that you had?
I don't know. Okay.
You should put some ears on your Pikachu. I think it looks great.
See why that's a dunking claw? It'll blend in with the ocean.
I see.
So the underwater creatures won't see it coming. Mom,
Yeah?
do you see is there like any yellowy color somewhere?
This is yellowy.
Oh, that's
greeny.
but where is yellow? Where's yellow? I like that, Mommy.
It looks great. I think I'm done. You want to get in here, little man?
Yeah, I want to draw. Nice. The brush markers. Am I using the brush tip?
No, you're using the chisel tip.
Am I using the brush
The brush tip's on this end button. Is that what you want? Done?
Done.
Alright, little people. Thank you guys for coloring with me.
Is that the green water?
Let's see what you got. So we've got our Pokemon and this is a Pikachu?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I just need the
And
yellow.
look, I made some little shapes here.
I love them.
Aw, you were just the sweetest girl.
Big circles.
And big circles. I drew a little face.
What a hard one is that?
And I drew this little thing too. Thanks, guys. This was fun.
Yeah.
I love you.
I'm even glad I joined you, Mommy. Oh, can you fill that up?
Here, let's show your pictures because I think your guys' are better. Here, can you guys, here, we'll put this here. Can you guys say bye-bye?
Bye. Bye.
You're waving, buddy, but they can't see you.
Okay.
Okay.
Bye.